Some 750 years ago, a group of people migrated into this place to settle along the Little Colorado River. Archaeologists, as well as Hopi and Zuni elders, believe that these people migrated from regions to the south of here, carrying with them a rich culture and the skills to make a living in the harsh conditions of the mountain highlands of the Mogollon Rim. These people lived in the Round Valley area for about 100 years. The village you are about to explore is both a National Historic Landmark and a living cultural landmark for the Hopi, Zuni, and other Puebloan peoples. My name is Lyle Bolinkwa. I'm an archaeologist with the Hopi tribe. The story of Casa Malpais is a story of some of the ancestors of my tribe. The town of Springerville has asked me to help share this story with you. The first thing to remember about Casa Malpais is that the words Casa and Malpai are not Puebloan words. Casa Malpais was named by Basque shepherds in the 1870s. The Hopi called this place Qua'ovi, which translates to Eagle Mound in English. Octavius Siaktewa explains the Zuni name for this village.
It means the village in the black cliffs, black rocks. And so it does have a name, this area, and the people that were here are aware of all the other sites that are out there. So the European visitors that came were taken to sites like this, and I think it was the European visitors, the white people, that got credit for finding these sites, but they were never found because we already knew that they were out there.
The village of Casa Malpais was first described in the literature by Frank Hamilton Cushing in the 1880s. Ned Danson conducted further research on Casa Malpais in the 1950s, describing the village as a fissure pueblo. This pueblo was constructed on a series of terraces that were created by the eruption of a low-shield volcano some 75 million years ago. The village was built on top of large volcanic fissures and is one of the remarkable things that makes Casa Malpais a unique site in the American Southwest. Rather than building their village on the low floodplain with risks of floods or on top of the volcanic cliff above the site, which is subjected to nearly constant 30-mile-per-hour winds, the ancients came up with an ingenious solution. They incorporated the cave-like open spaces formed by the volcanic fissures into the village construction. First, they moved smaller boulders to seal off certain crevices, and then constructed wooden roofs on top of the larger fissures. Built with trapdoors down, as seen in this excavation photograph, this allowed the ancients to use the fissures as pre-excavated basement spaces. These cool, dark, dry underground rooms were then ideal for use as granaries and storage rooms. Being able to store seeds and food both to sustain the people through the winter and to have enough seeds to replant in the spring is important for any society that relies upon agriculture. And as Jerome Zuni, a cultural resource advisor with the Zuni tribe, explains,
storage is always an important part of the architecture in a prehistoric site, and even up to the historical times in Zuni. Storage places were always in a cool room with no light admitted into the room to keep it cool, and usually with a flagstone floor to keep the rodents out of the storage areas. And most of the time in the storage area there would be large pots, ceramic clay pots, to store the food items in, just these storage rooms. And that's what they used even up to the 1950s is what I remember seeing in the old part of the Pueblo of Zuni.
Besides being an ideal solution for where to build their pueblo, the Round Valley region was an ideal spot for ancient farmers to settle despite the short growing season of this high-altitude valley. The Little Colorado River provided ample and dependable water for crops, and the wildlife surrounding the region helped add meat and other wild plant products to the local diet. Octavius explains how suitable this place was for ancient settlement.
Well, it's a good area. I imagine that the crops were very abundant because of we observed a few terraces that would hold good rainfall, and the type of soil, the soils that would grow the beans, the squash, the corn, is still available now. So any place that would furnish these natural elements to help the people would still be utilized today.
As was mentioned before, we know that people lived at Casa Malpais for about 100 years. This was determined through the science of dendrochronology, or tree ring dating. Wood samples recovered from 5 field seasons of excavations in the 1990s indicate that the first construction on the site took place around AD 1240, with additional samples showing a range of dates that extend until around AD 1290. These dates tell us to the exact calendar year when construction took place at Casa Malpais. We know that settlement continued at the village until at least around AD 1330, from the types of ceramic pottery sherds found at this pueblo. This process is called ceramic cross dating. Pottery found at villages with well-documented tree ring dates provide archaeologists with good markers for specific time periods. For instance, these Zuni glazeware sherds found at Casa Malpais were not manufactured before AD 1325. Excavations at Casa Malpais have stopped, but the village remains an important focus for archaeological research, particularly in the study of the ways ancient populations migrated across the American Southwest and how the people who lived at Casa Malpais eventually moved on, migrating to the modern-day Zuni and Hopi pueblos.
When I did research among the pueblos in this area, the kind of general question that I had was, where did the people who lived in these pueblos ultimately end up? And I don't know that I have a definitive answer to that, but several of the pueblos in this region between Springerville and St. John's had trade connections with populations that ultimately ended up both at Hopi pueblos, the villages associated with the Hopi mesas, and at Zuni Pueblo, and in the area around contemporary Zuni Pueblo there were several villages occupied that people from this region probably joined both here, from here to Hopi and Zuni. It's also quite likely that they traveled on either after stopping at Hopi or Zuni to join some of the pueblos further to the east. The one area or region that has a strong artifactual similarity to this region is also Acoma.
Much of the evidence for an ancestral link between Hopi and Zuni populations can be seen in the rock art or petroglyphs, the architecture of the village, and the objects and artifacts of day-to-day life on the Colorado Plateau. Hopi elder and farmer Pharaoh Sikakakuk explains these links.
By looking at the petroglyphs out there, I could say, from my point of view, that the Snake clan had come through here at one time, perhaps lived there. But the other, the signs there that I saw, there's not very many, but there are maybe several clans, and perhaps some of them may have come through here and then went into Zuni. So Zuni might have some experience here too. They may have claimed some of the areas here.
Now you are about to be given the opportunity to explore an ancient and special place. While you are on your tour, there are a few things to keep in mind.
And say that, yes, it's a very sacred place. Each archaeological site or place where people has lived and moved away is a very sacred place, because our spiritual people are still there. During a certain time of the year, we have prayer feather making, and we remember these people, and we make prayer feathers for them, and we remember the villages that we have lived at once before, that we have left that place, and some of these people that have passed on, and they're buried there, and they're spiritual people, and they're still protecting the place, and they're still there. So we remember that by placing the prayer feathers at our shrine, because some of them are far away, further than this place here in Springerville. So we have a shrine especially developed for these places, and we point to that place, and then we put it down. This is for that, for these people that are there, and we pray for them to remember us with their rain, for protecting us from any evil, and then giving us a long life, better life. So the visitors should, when they visit these places, they should treat it with respect, reverence, and that would be a way for them to also protect the site where these people are still. And by looking at it and then visualizing what is there, especially the petroglyphs, and then we get to know who these people are. And they didn't go anywhere. They didn't disappear from this earth. They just moved on to other places like Hopi, Zuni, and perhaps other places in the pueblos in New Mexico.
Along your tour, you're likely to encounter numerous artifacts on the site. Feel free to examine or photograph objects like pottery sherds, but please put them back exactly where you found them. The objects and the places that were left still have scientific and cultural value, but these objects can only remain important if they remain where they rest today.
The potsherds and even the pots themselves, the arrowheads, the stone tools, the bone tools were left there for a specific reason. We still hold the same concept of communal sharing. So these areas were left for use for the other people that would be coming in, and in order for them to have the necessary equipment for day-to-day life, they had to have had those. So they were left for a specific reason, and people that moved on did not take everything with them. Even the potsherds, some of them were broken to leave behind because it was used by an individual, and for him, in order for him to use it in his afterlife, it was left behind, broken in pieces, so that he can use it for his other journey.
As you reach the pueblo itself, you can see the outline of a large building with around 65 rooms. 2 of the rooms that have been excavated have been left open for you to examine. It is important to note that these rooms were not built as holes in the ground, but rather large, multi-story rooms that have collapsed over the past 700 years. When you approach the pueblo and look down into the rooms, you are actually standing on a rubble pile at about the height of first floor rooftops, so it only looks as if the rooms are sunken into the earth. Many of these rooms may have had second and even third stories. This image shows a virtual reconstruction of the pueblo of Casa Malpais, with the soil lowered back down to the ancient ground level. This model is a best guess based upon all currently available evidence. Notice the doorways. For pueblos of this time period, it was very rare to have doors or passageways leading to exterior spaces. Instead, access to these rooms was based upon ladders and rooftop hatches. As you will see on your tour, doorways between rooms were more common, and is one of the best ways archaeologists have of trying to infer how many given rooms would have made up a prehistoric household. Another thing you will see on your tour is the numerous features that were constructed upon the site to keep track of time. Knowing what day to plant and knowing what day to harvest a given crop are critically important for ancient farmers, and you will see many ingenious ways that rock art and possibly even a stone solar calendar might have been used for this purpose. Thanks for taking the time to visit Casa Malpais. We hope that you will enjoy exploring this important ancient site. Pharaoh Sikakuku would like to leave you with this one last bit of advice.
I welcome the visitors out to our site where we once lived, and we want to make sure that they have a fun time and also have a safety walk through it, because there's plenty of snakes, rattlesnakes out there, and make sure that they watch out for them. Thank you.